So I titled today's experience, Amanda Seales is an awkward Black girl, because I thought that it was so cute. Like, awkward Black girl, Issa Rae, Amanda Seales. And the thought process behind Amanda Seales as an awkward Black girl was first identifying what the word awkward meant. And so I'm going to put a definition on the screen of what it means to be awkward. And we all know Black, we all know girl. So I want to put this on the screen just so that we can look at the definition itself. And then it's going to help me build out this experience we're going to have together. Speaking of Amanda Seales in the Club Shay Shay interview. So what is awkward? The word awkward generally describes a situation or a person's behavior that is uncomfortable, clumsy, or lacking in social grace and ease. It can refer to physical coordination, social interaction, or any scenario that feels unnatural or difficult to navigate. For example, someone might feel awkward when they stumble over the words during a speech, or when they encounter an unexpected and embarrassing social situation. In physical terms, it might describe movements that are not smooth or well coordinated. So Amanda Seales is an awkward Black girl, and I want this to be received such a beautiful way. And I'm not sure if it's going to land that, so I just have to say that directly, because I too am an awkward Black girl, and I love the awkward Black girl position. Not because being awkward is supposed to be this thing that is weird or just, I don't know, have a bad negative connotation. I think being awkward suggests that there's something different about you. And because there's something different about you, navigate the world differently. And so when I was introduced to Issa Rae, which is my favorite actress, favorite writer, I was a young girl and I saw her on YouTube, and the series was Awkward Black Girl. And when I tell you, I found myself, I said, oh, I'm also an awkward Black girl.
I think I found my awkward soulmate. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd find someone I could relate to at my job. It's only been a couple of months, but we've already been through a lot. We laugh together.
We're the mystery team.
We go out together. We've gotten into violent arguments.
I don't care. I don't even care. I don't even care.
I don't care.
I don't.
It's cool.
But best of all, she appreciates my flows.
Just, see if you can fit in.
Okay.
Who would have thought? Black and Indian, what blend? Recipe of friendship, curry fried chicken. You are my main. We make a good team. I'm Saved by the Bell and you're
California Dreams.
What? Yeah.
The series was the best series, and I just knew one day I was going to work with Issa Rae. I just said, she is me and I am her. So the reason why I bring Issa Rae into the scenario is, of course, we understand that during this interview, Amanda Seales speaks of her experience with Issa Rae. She's also worked with Issa Rae, and so of course we're going to marry that together. Now, when it comes to this interview with Club Shay Shay, there are so many different pieces of content that can be pulled from this experience, and so I have dedicated myself to pulling out the most inspirational moments that I encountered when watching the video, but I'm only going to start with one because they all marry together, but there's so much that can be pulled from this as it relates to a journal assignment. So I thought it would be a better experience for you and whoever's watching on the other side of the video to really just focus on one thing at a time, and for me to identify who the audience is for this particular assignment. And identifying the audience for this channel and identifying the audience for today's assignment, I have to be clear that this is a practice. So what are we practicing? We're practicing our self-awareness skills. We're practicing the way that we speak, the way that we pull out our argument, the way that we think, the way that we experience one another. Everything is a practice here. So although I am not the expert on living on Earth and experience in America, I do find excitement through the self-development or self-awareness journey. And so if you are someone who's open to challenging yourselves to look at different perspectives, to also look at yourself as you respond to the content that's online, as you evolve as a person, picking a different way that actually can support you and yourselves, then this might be an interesting spot to land. So let's talk about this Amanda Seales interview, and let's talk about the content I want to to focus on today. So the audience here is anyone who is interested in the Bible or has a core faith that makes reference to either prophecy or psychic abilities. I want us to talk about this. So this can be really anyone who lands in the spirituality realm, those who consider themselves religion, those who are Bible followers or Christ followers. I want us to talk about the topic of psychics and prophets, because this was one of the topics that came up in my experience of reading the Bible and coming out of church and coming back into church and listening to everyone else's perspective, was that there's some things that's closely related to the Bible that is demonized in the world, and is demonized for a particular reason based on everyone's response of it. But when I look outside of the world, everyone just has a different view. And so my point of reference and the guide that I use to navigate through my life right now is the Bible. And so what I wanted to do is we're going to look at this clip together. Then we are going to look at two sides. We're going to look at what does the Bible say that supports prophecy, and what does the Bible say that is against prophecy. And then what I want you all in the comments to do is give me your feedback. First on, do you feel like there is a connection? Do you feel like things are distorted? And even in your own personal walk, how do you know what is true and what is not? So we're going to look at actually two clips. One is from Club Shay Shay, and another is from an interview Amanda Seales had with Tabitha Brown. And we're going to go through this journey together. Now, I'm talkative, so let me just say this one more thing. Let me say one more thing before we look into the video. Last week, I wanted to record a video on Amanda Seales because I wanted to be popping and hot. I said, I need to get out this content when it's trendy. And I mean, all things happen. And I just was like, give up, do not do this today, just take a break and live your life. And so as I was taking a break and living my life was life. And then I had therapy this morning. And I now feel like the therapy this morning was because I needed to share the story that my therapist shared with me, with you all, as it relates to this channel and my ultimate goal. So let's have a small story time before we actually get into the Amanda Seales content. My therapist is telling me this story, and she starts off with, I hope that this blesses you as much as it blesses me. And of course, I just have a therapist that was just designed for me, sent from God Almighty from the throne. Now, she starts to tell this story, which seems basic. I feel like we've heard the story before, but the way that it hit home in my heart. She tells the story about being a plant mom and trying to learn about plants and the differences between a plant staying in the pot that it was created to start in and then moving into a different environment with new soil. And as she's saying the story, I said, is she living in my life? Because just last week I was at the farmer's market. I was at the farmer's market living my life, and I had the same discussion about the plant and moving it into its new environment. But honestly, it fell through, and the plant is in the back and it fell.
Wait, what?
But anyway, she's telling the story, and she's saying that she learned that the plant had to move into this new environment, which is the new pot with the new soil. But if the plant wasn't massaged at the roots when it moved into this new pot in this new soil, that it would not grow, that it would just stay in that same position as if it was in that small pot when it was moved to the big pot. Funny enough, I'm like, okay, this is good, but can you bring it home for me? I feel like I'm missing something. What do you mean? Like, what's the massaging of the roots? So she says the massaging of the roots is the opportunity for that plant to get rid of what they knew in order to adapt to the new environment. And it had to be massaged at the root. So the core things that we believe, and this is how I started to make it apply to this channel, the core things that we believe, they are so core, they are so embedded in us that when we try to shift into a new environment as a society or even in our own development journey, it takes some massaging. Like we just gotta like just practice a little bit, like just move around a little bit of those roots and question them, look for a different perspective. And so when she told me just that part about like massaging the roots and being a different perspective, I don't think it hit home until it was time to record today's video. And I said, oh, that's how I apply this. Most of us have so many different belief systems that when we are engaging with one another, the belief system that is the strongest will dominate the conversation for our own selves. And so as we relate this to the Amanda Seales video, there are people who don't like Amanda Seales for X, Y, and Z reason. And so if she shares any content, they almost throw all of it away because they just had a core belief about what she believed or who she is. And then there are scenarios where there are core belief systems that we believe about ourselves, like we cannot do it, or this is not possible, or the world would never change for the good, because we've seen it time and time again that this experience on Earth, particularly in America, it's a little messy. It shouldn't be this difficult, but it is. And when I mean by it shouldn't be this difficult, it equals peace. It equals peace. There's some very clear principles on how we can experience one another outside of religion, in religion, to actually achieve that peace. But for some reason, we have such strong belief systems against anything that's good or positive that we need some massaging. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to just massage a little bit. And this doesn't mean that we'll massage so that you can be somewhere else. This massaging is so that if you have these roots and you want to experience something different, because the roots that you're in right now don't serve you well. Maybe you're always angry. Maybe you're always complaining. Maybe life is always dark. So if those are the roots that you have, then the suggestion to try to massage them and move yourself in a new environment is just these practice activities, these practice assignments, these quality questions that we can bring to a conversation. So bet is a word. Okay, never mind. So what we're going to do now is I am finally going to play the video about Amanda Seales, and then we are going to pause it at some moments and then think about them.
You know what? You speak very highly of your gymnastics coach, and there are a couple of teachers at John Phillips High School. Dr. Phillips High School, that you speak in glowing terms about. And then when you speak of them, you radiate. You don't radiate when you mention anybody else's name. But when you mention those people's names, your mother, your gymnastics coach, the people at the instructors at Dr. Phillips High School, you radiate. What was it about them that caused them to not only understand Amanda, but was willing to protect Amanda? Your mom, I get. That's your mom. She's supposed to
because they saw what some people consider as flaws, they saw as strengths. You know, I remember when I started going to therapy because I was like, you know, people keep telling me that no one likes me. And I do not understand.
Did you believe it?
That no one likes me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had low self-esteem.
Okay.
So I'm just like, I don't understand. And I remember her asking me, well, what are the reasons why people say they don't like you? And I told her, I said, my tone, they feel that I'm like too detail oriented, like it's annoying. You know, they tell me like me being detail oriented, they take it as nitpicky.
Right.
That I am too demanding. Whereas like for me, it's like, well, no, it's more so just me holding you accountable. They say that I am mean, but in my version of it, it's like, well, no, I'm just being honest. And so we started working on me being better at understanding like the neurotypical, like the normal way that things are read, so that I could better protect myself.
Right.
Like that may be the truth, but you don't got to tell it right now. You know it, and good for you.
Right.
Hold that.
Right.
Hold that. You don't got to tell it right now.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right here because this is actually why I named it The Awkward Black Girl, because what we're hearing right now is trying to understand and navigate an experience where people think one way and you think another way. And I think as a self-identified awkward Black girl, that's what it feels like when my default is, why can't that person say that with a little bit more grace? Or why is that person always angry? Like, it's just something I don't understand. And I want to go on this journey to understand, why is it that I see it this way, but everyone else sees it another way? And the desire and the urge to go after that understanding, it's just a lot. Cause I'm like, why am I putting myself in a position to try to understand why the world is the way that it is? Do I I really feel like I can come onto YouTube and talk about peace in any different way that people in my past had talked about it, and it's going to be different? Maybe not. But right now, this is where I'm sitting. That we are exposed to so much content, so many different thoughts, that if I at least take the time to understand why it's so different, it might help me in one way or the other. It might even advance my experience here on Earth. It might help me navigate a little better. But the experience itself is awkward. When you have to learn why people might not like you or why you feel different, that experience is awkward, but to go after it is a treasure. To be that awkward Black girl, to be in that awkward experience, you will develop the fruit. So let's go ahead and go back into the video.
It may have been a yes or no question, but people need extra words. I lost a job because I was answering in yes or no questions.
How you lose a job if you answer yes or no? Because you added.
Because they were emailing me, asking me yes or no questions.
Okay.
And my responses were yes.
Yes.
And
no.
And then finally I got an email that said, you know what, we decided to go with somebody else because by your responses, it seems like you're not interested.
Well, you say answer yes or no.
So now you understand me. It took us a little bit, but you hear. So
they wanted you to say, yes, I would love to have the job because I think this is an amazing opportunity for me.
So I'm going to stop it right here because we hear in the interview a lot more awkward situations where yes or no, answering yes or no, people can take that differently. Sometimes when you are engaging in this earth, there's so much required of you, which seems abnormal. So for the awkward Black girl, it's a yes or no. So although I don't necessarily find a difficulty with being a little bit more extra or expressive, I understand the awkward Black girlness of this story that's being told. But I paused it right here because we hear Amanda Seales say, you understand me, it took you a while, but now we are here. And if you watch the full video, if you have 3 hours to spare, watch the full interview. We see some experiences between the two, which a lot of people will have commentary about. They will say that Shannon Sharpe is invalidating Amanda. We can see that some say that Amanda is rude in this experience. And this is where I input a different perspective. I don't know this man. I don't know Amanda. But from Shannon Sharpe, I am going back to that massaging of the roots, getting into a new pot. There's so much commentary about Shannon Sharpe's success through podcasting, through these interviews, especially when Cat Williams jumped off. And a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say. And I think that it's so interesting that people are going down the throat for someone who is doing it, right? They're trying their best. And so even with him being in this space that might not be his natural space, he's going into a new environment. And so he might not have all of the journalism skills. He might not have it all together. But do we have to have it all together in order to try something new? Can we not just start massaging our roots and experiencing it, and to have these learning lessons that he has with Amanda Seales when he doesn't get the identification of her mother right? That's a learning skill. We might not have it all right, but he was in this position to bring stronger awareness to the comedian and all the other people on this podcast voices in a very unique way where there's supposed to be a safe space. So when we think about safe spaces and we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I would love to challenge those people who thought that Shannon was so in the wrong here. Because the thing about diversity of thoughts is that they come from diversity of experiences. So maybe the way that the commentary suggesting that Shannon is just this slow Black man or he's not too sharp is people identifying weaknesses before they can identify strengths. Now, for the people who are quick to identify the weaknesses of someone who's operating in a strength, says a lot about where their priorities lie. I don't know what it says, but this is for those people to investigate on their own. Maybe it's okay. Maybe you will sit here and say, hey, whatever, he was wrong. But maybe you can operate in a new perspective. Within a prison, there's a different perspective. So here's where I'm operating with this. If, let's say we go with the narrative that Shannon Sharpe was in the Deep South and that he does all the jiving and shuckling and he was okay with it. I cannot be upset with anyone who has navigated the American experience, the Black Black experience perspective and decides to choose that they're not going to look at the world so dark and cold in every moment. Maybe their response to this world is, I can't be mad at all. I might just be happy. This is a storyline that I created in my head about living in the South, is that some people in the South are really upset and angry, and they will go and fight and go at it when it comes to the experience with the other race. And then others are more submissive and they are just trying to survive. And so they chose a different route. As it relates to this experience, as we look at the experience of Black people, as we look at the anger, the disadvantages, we also have to consider that everyone is going to respond to their trauma differently. And so in one case, someone's going to be angry that racism existed and they're going to see racism existing really loud and proud. And the other might see racism kind of, but they just don't decide to engage because they don't want to put themselves in that awkward experience. To them, peace is primary. And the way that they see peace in this experience is to not engage or not even see it from that perspective. So when Shannon and Amanda is having this conversation, we're like one-sided. We're not inviting the fact that Shannon can also be responding to his life and his experience in a way and just adding to a conversation. Although this is an interview, sometimes conversations aren't as like, I don't know how to do this. Conversations aren't as like, square and bucketed. Like we have all these right and wrong ways. If we are creating a safe place and we are expressing from our experience, then I believe that's fair game for anyone in a conversation for us to really even point out where the differences are and how we can correct them. So in this situation, to carry this home, is that Shannon Sharp's experience, Shannon Sharp's opinion within this conversation to some might seem diluted. They might put a lot of labels and names, but I would challenge people just to consider, why do you think he even thinks that way? Does it have to always equate to some bad thing about the man? Does it have to always equate to this person being dumb or slow? Like, these are the places where I say, where could we pause and challenge and say, hey, if our community is dealing with so many different challenges, when do we make space to understand that even the ones who have adopted the right way, they have all the answers, aren't going to push us forward by belittling other people who think differently? And I'm just going to insert this person's name very, very, just for a little bit, because people get wild and crazy when you say this woman's name. But I'm just going to insert her name because it was also brought up in the conversation. When we think about diversity of thought in the Black community, it's almost as if everybody has to think the same way, and we can't have different experiences. We can't be in different parts of the playground and still appreciate that we all are sharing the same playground and experiencing fun together or experiencing the game. And I see this when I think of Candace Owens, and I saw Amanda's behavior, which was uncomfortable or awkward when her name was brought up in an interview. But I couldn't help but think the relationship between the Black community with both of these women is, if Amanda Seales is leading with she's not in Black spaces or not invited to Black spaces and Black media is against her, I see the same thing with Candace Owens. And you know why? Because she's also, in my opinion, an awkward Black girl. What makes an awkward Black girl is you're standing against what the norm is, and you want to fit in, but you just can't fit in because your belief systems or the way that you see the world is so powerful and so strong that people who have decided not to see it that way and opt to see you as weird are seeing you from a lens of different and awkward. And when something is different and awkward and don't understand it, there's a fear that's developed, and then you're pushed away. And when you're pushed away as a true awkward Black girl, you use that for your benefit. So being awkward, in my perspective, has been my superpower. And I would think that being awkward for Issa Rae, for Amanda Seales, and for Candace Owens has also been their superpower. But you're always going to be left with this, you're different. And from all three of these women, I have heard that they want to support everything in Black. And it might, for the last one, Candace Owens, people might not see it that way. But this is why I want us to try to practice this diversity of experiences. Why do you think people in end up at the thought that they land. And let's bring in Shannon Sharp. Everyone is experiencing the Black experience in a different way, but most of us want us to see the Black experience as one way. And if we don't see it that way, then we start being called names. Like they throw out, oh, grifters, or she is a, no one that I haven't heard anyone say anything about Issa Rae, but there's just these things like for Shannon Sharp, oh, he's dumb and slow from the South, and she talks too much. We have so many negative things to say that we can't even just sit in a space and realize that these people are humans and they are experiencing life, and this is how they respond to it. This is what they do with it, and take it or leave it. Now, when we're on the opposite end and we're looking through these TV screens and through our phones and we have so many places to judge, I would say use that energy in a way that can support yourself or support the community that you feel so powerful about. There has not been any fruit in the way that we respond to one another in a community that says down on each other and making fun of each other's hair. Like that was also another connection I made with Amanda and Candace, is that the Black community gets mad and then they say, oh, something's wrong with your hair. Oh, we don't like you, or she can't be around, or don't put her in the media. But when can we challenge ourselves to put us all in the same space and recognize that everybody's experience doesn't have to be a threat, or doesn't have to be something that we have to even respond to in such a powerful way? We might can just practice listening. We might can just practice, or listen and then have thoughtful questions like, why do you see it that way? And then you can start to say, well, would you consider this? If you feel like your way is the truth and the only way and the ultimate way, how can you insert your truth that you believe is going to actually help the world in a way that people can receive it? I, for the life of me, have not understood the way that we go back with each other in the community, or how we don't make room for people to be different, which is one of the reasons why I don't know what my next thought is. But with this understanding that I don't understand why that this is the case, it makes me more interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are one of the reasons why I'm more interested in it, because when we are in this same rooted pot where all I know is the Black experience and all I know is my particular experience in dealing with these wrong things, we don't make room for the fact that there might be other experiences outside of us that we're not aware of that might make this earth experience a lot more colorful. By sitting in a room and saying, you're from a different space than me, and this is how I see you. How do you see me? Or why do you see it this way? Those conversations are one of the weakest points in the American experience. We are operating like toddlers, where if it's not our way, then it's no way. And we are afraid of anyone else getting a treat or a cookie, because if they get a treat or a cookie, then it's going to take away from me. As a mother, I see that, and I'm able to see it clear, because, and let's just take it to the Black and white community. If there's this fear, let's say with DEI, and people say, oh, we don't want that to happen because if these people start to get more opportunities, they're going to take it away from us. Well, who says that it's going to be taken away from you? You can still have a cookie. And for those who believe that, let's just finish. Okay, let's just finish up, because I have lots to say and I'm already going on time. So let's watch the rest of this video and get to the actual point of this video, which was me getting into the conversation about spirituality, which she's heading towards soon. So let's continue.
And I just love this company. I think you...
Oh, wait, 1 second. I also wanted to say this, and right here, Amanda is jumping and she is, being the character. She's being she's shuckling and she's jiving, or shucking and jiving, whatever the term is. And this part also emphasized the fact that the way that we all respond to this traumatic experience of not being treated as equal, or seeing other people in our community not being treated as equal, or just seeing the injustices in the world, or in America, I don't know. But in America, where to her as an awkward Black girl, which is I'm going to say, it's like, I'm not going to deal with this. This is how I see it, in my opinion. I'm not going to deal with this. This is abnormal for me to have to do all this extra work in order to please another person. But when I think about, again, responding to this world and the fact that it's interesting. I feel like this shucking and jiving is also a coping mechanism. Like, I will shuck and jive so that I can survive. I will shuck and jive because I just want a better experience. And shucking and jiving might be okay with some people because they actually do feel comfortable. And this is again that diversity of thought, where if one person in the community sees it in a very negative way, then they want others to see it that way too. And so that's what I saw in the video between the two, is that, hey, some people say that he might be a shucking and jiving type of person because he's playing a game and he understands the rules. And part of the rules is the shucking and the jiving. But I don't think that's the true problem. The true problem is not the fact that people who are experiencing life and trying their best to respond to the traumatic experiences are responding the way that they are. I think the core problem is that we're the root of it all. The core beliefs that we have been dealing with for years and years hasn't been truly addressed. And that's not the fault of the people who are responding to it the way that they are. I hope that makes sense as much as it makes sense in my mind. But if I can paint a picture, we're in the middle of it is the root problem. The root problem is we aren't treating others the way that we should be treated. We're not navigating through this earth with principles of loving your neighbor as yourself, or even loving ourselves, and on all ends of the spectrum. The dominant race have done some things that have hurt others, and the response around this core problem is diverse, is different. Some are responding in a way where they're angry. Some are responding in a way that they're passive. Some are responding in a way where they're indifferent, or all the other descriptions that we can use. People are just responding to it, and we are all different. So we might not all want to respond in anger. We might not all want to respond in shuckling and jiving. The true beauty in diversity is that when we get into the room, we can understand the person who's shucking and jiving, and we can also understand the person who is not having it. Both of those are valid, and both of those need to be added to the conversation so that we can see the full picture and then get to the root of the problem and then massage it so we can do something with it. All right, now I'm ready to move on.
But
Get out there and dance, nigga.
But Amanda.
And black people do it to each other.
Amanda, we had the conversation up earlier. And what did we say? If you understand the rules.
No, but I didn't understand the rules. I'm just talking then. I didn't understand the rules. I didn't understand the rules.
So
I had to learn. So I was saying that
the therapy helped you.
Yes. But even still, it's like understanding the rules and like, you know, then you are who you are. Like that ends up being in conflict with each other so often. You know what I'm saying? Like you understand the rules, but you're like, in order for me to like play this game, I got to like do a whole renovation of self. That's not going to be an upgrade. It's just me really just trying to mask to become palatable to you.
But don't you think realistically, there are a lot more people that dress in Halloween costumes year round as opposed to just on that day?
I do not want to be those people. And those are not the people that change the world. And that's what I'm here to do. And I literally went and got my master's because Rich Bova on the campus of Purchase College stopped me and held my hand because he was a psychic. And he would always do readings for people. And he just held my hand and was like, well, you got to go get your master's. And I was like, God, I thought I was done with this. And he was like, no, you got to go get your master's because you're going to change the world and you're going to need it to do it.
You believe in psychics?
I believe in a lot.
Oh, my goodness.
How can you not believe in psychics and believe in God?
No, you're no psychic.
What do you, wait, let's take
no. Let's
take a moment. Let's take a moment.
Yes.
If you believe in God, then you believe in a spiritual power that is greater than all of us. You also believe that there are people who are able to access that in ways that others cannot. Do you not? That's what our pastors do. That's what people who are Catholics believe priests are doing. And for all intents and purposes, when we pray, we are attempting to contact that power. We are attempting to, just let me finish. We are attempting to tap in to that power, to tap into that energy and bring it to us as we are continuing to bring it to them. Now, when we vilify the idea of psychics or witches, etc., a lot of times what's mixed into that is shit that ain't got nothing to do with actual connection to spirit. There are people who are operating in dark spaces and dark places, but there are people who are tapped in that just have different names. And so the idea of a psychic, like I'm not calling him a psychic. A medium, or somebody who is literally just more connected. I am very connected to like I'm empathic. I can feel. I'm very connected to just nature, to the vibration of things because I want to be, but also because I'm an artist, right? Like I can make something from nothing. Like there's something that is really unique in that ability to do so. So when I'm talking about someone who is able to read you, it's not like it's not that they're dealing with dark magic. It's that they are able to see their prophets. So it's just language. But as long as it's done in love, it's all coming from the same place.
Pastors seem to have been accessing people's bank accounts a lot lately.
That is very true. And that is why we have to always be careful about who is at the pulpit.
That was really why I wanted to do this video, but I realized that there was so many different spaces. There was so much conversation that we can pull from just in the session that I shared and beyond. But here's where I wanted to land. And we're going to talk about this idea of diversity of thought as it relates to our belief system. So now we're going to navigate from diversity of thought and just dealing with the race conversation to dealing with the spiritual conversation, because both of these topics are topics of interest in my self-awareness journey. And I am sharing this part with you because I feel like there are valid questions here. Why was this inspirational to me, or why was this something that I pulled from? Crazy. I have been reading the Bible, like reading the Bible. And so as I'm reading the Bible, I am inviting myself to not be in doubt, but to look for understanding so I can really get to the nitty gritty of it all. And one of the questions that have come up in my journey as it relates to even people in my space or even choices I make is, what is this spirituality religion disconnection? Why are we separating it? Why do we have so many labels and titles? Why are we just arguing about a lot of concepts? Which one being this concept of gifts of the spirit? So I'm going to actually play another clip as it relates to Amanda and Tabitha Brown talking about this, because as I navigate this experience of like getting into the Bible and listening to certain content creators on their take on the Bible, I've come across some content that speaks to Tabitha Brown in a negative way because she describes her gifts. And I want to lead with this understanding and idea from my experience in relationship is, when things are done with God at the center of it, then the idea is that it's not used in the wrong way. So when you have a gift, your gift can be used for either bad or good. Some people have the gift of gab, or they have a gift with their tongue or their mouth, and some use it to swindle people out of their money, and some people use it to elevate or edify. So I've always found this topic a little interesting, especially because right now in the spaces of the internet and just the earth, there's just a highlight of spirituality and religion, deconstruction of religion and all those things. And I think it's fair to also sit at the same table, maybe even the table that Christ had pulled over. Remember, he pushed the table over because he was mad? Maybe we need to sit at that table once the table comes back and talk about why there's so many different thoughts and ideologies and faith itself, especially because faith is supposed to be one of those things that actually helps us pull through all of the uncomfortable and disconnects that we're having with each other on earth. So let's watch this other clip.
It's an important thing. And
You know you're a witch, right?
like a what?
You're a witch.
Oh no, I'm not a witch.
Witches are good things.
Yeah, but I just don't go by that.
Okay. I mean, it's different words for the same thing.
Unless you cast me as Glinda in the new Wizard of Oz.
In
Hey,
which
Kenya.
case?
In which case, I'm
I say
available.
that in the
No.
context of
Yes.
when I was in college, I had a professor say to me, "You're a witch." And I was like, okay, same. I was like, why would you say that to
Uh-huh.
me? And he was like, what I mean is that you have the ability to conjure the best from those who don't know they have it,
Mhm.
and reveal the worst from those who think they're hiding it.
Mhm.
And so he was like, you have a gift of sight.
Oh, I am a seer, right?
And so that was the context he was saying. So he
Yeah.
was like, you're able to basically work with the energy of the world in a way that other people may not trust themselves to tap into.
Yeah. I mean, that's been my whole life. I was born with a gift. I talk about it in my first book because I wanted to be clear.
Flex
with people.
number 2.
What is happening?
Flex number 2. I talk about it in my first book, which assumes there are several.
I'm just saying it's important to say my first, because when I wrote my first book, I said I already had a lot of followers, and I wanted to reveal to them my gift. And I wanted to put it in my opening chapter to give them the choice if they wanted to continue to follow me or not. So I started with that. So this is your opportunity to either close it or keep reading. Because I hid it for so long. Growing up with a gift is scary. And if you try to tell people what you see or dream or hear, you're told you're crazy or they look at you strange. And so I had hid it for a very long time. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to hide that anymore. So this is who I am. And so when you talk about those things, it's been my whole life, from seeing things that nobody else see and being a little girl thinking, at nighttime I was always afraid of the dark. I slept with a nightlight or the TV on until I was about 28, 29 years old. And then Chance was like, listen, we got a little bit of money. We're going to get a TV with a timer on in the bedroom. So set it for 45 minutes. So you can go on and go to sleep by the time the TV cut off. That's a true thing for me. And so my sister used to tell me it was a boogeyman. And I believed that. And then I got older. I'm like, man, wait a minute. I shouldn't still be seeing the boogeyman at nighttime. But I would see shadows and I would see people and hear things and see things in my dreams that come to pass, or speak to people who I never met before, but would tell me things. And I would go tell my mom and them, and they'd be like, there's no way for you to know that. So that's been my entire life. And then I ran from it for a while because it scared me. Mm-hmm. But now I embrace it and it's who I am.
So basically what you're saying is I was right.
So we've identified another awkward Black girl. And I love Tabitha Brown. I think I'm picking out the people that I resonate with. And when I listened to this, and this is, I don't know how this even came across my way, but when I've seen this clip and I thought, oh, I can put this all together, I was thinking about, again, the fact that people are afraid of a certain topic. And so in order to deal with that topic, they lean onto their core beliefs and they don't see anything else. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with being solid in your belief system. And this is why I want to include this in conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, is that we have to also include the fact that people have different belief systems and different experiences with their faith. And so my faith is going to be a different way because I have a different relationship than the person next to me. And I don't know what their relationship is. Even if I can see them on the outside and think, oh, that's a really bad person or a very good person, I don't know how their creator or their experience with whatever they experience with is working with them or what they choose to. And so I think this really comes down to a choice. And I love what Tabitha brings out here is she shares with her followers that this is who she is and that they now have a choice. This is what I want us to sit with as it relates to all the content that we consume, all the different ideologies and opinions is, what do you choose? And then why do you choose? So let's say I'm going to choose to spend my time speaking about someone I never met to using my self-awareness journey on YouTube. That's a choice that I made. And I know that the consequences of making this choice is I am going to expose myself to the internet. And the internet might have people who are really odd, not awkward. They might mean the same, but odd as it relates to how they respond. Like they don't want to choose to respond with a mindful tone. They want to make fun or say something mean because that's how they choose. That is their choice to be that way, but it's also my choice to say this audience here is an audience that wants to work on self-awareness, that wants to expose themselves to different perspectives, that wants to find inspiration to either strengthen their faith or their belief in a certain concept in the most mindful way possible. That's the practice here. So anyone who comes in this part of the internet who isn't interested in that, they can navigate a certain way. But the beauty is you come to the table, you realize who you're going to sit next to and who you're going to sit far away from. So this is an exercise that I did for myself. So I'm going to share it with you before we close out. And then I'm going to challenge you to create your own exercise as it relates to any of your core beliefs. And if you're interested in getting in depth, I have a link in the description box below for you to really journal with yourself in the most intentional way. And this is having those hard questions with the diversity of thoughts within yourself, how to move those thoughts to thoughts that can serve you if they aren't already serving you. And if they are serving you, how can you make sure that you you continue to allow them to serve you. Here's what I did for my own practice. And so I went through a few scriptures that supported prophets, and then I went through a few scriptures that were against what they were speaking of. So this is witchcraft, this is psychics, this is mediums. So I wanted to bring both of these to the conversation because we could see clearly that these two might be the same, but one is operating with a different foundation than the other. My perspective or understanding of this is that we use these different languages and we have such a bad taste in our mouth as it relates to the Bible and how people have dealt with the Bible and the outcomes of churches and religion, that we've navigated from that understanding and we went to go find our own, but that connection with God is still there. And I can't judge it. I don't know what people be doing or how they be doing it. When I look at the Bible and I see the type of men that had God after their own heart, or God had seen as the apple of their eye, because in this lifetime where I'm experiencing, people would be upset if they saw that manifest here. Like, imagine someone who you just despise being the apple of God's eye. You despise this person, but God sees them a different way. Like, would you look at God a different way because God decides to look at, when Amanda said earlier about the people who saw her, they saw the strengths before their flaws. And that type of perspective can be, challenged for some. That could be, oh, you can't think that way because that's I've heard that that's a mindset that makes you submissive to, like, how do I say this without saying it incorrectly? So there's this idea that religion for a certain community is creating a certain type of personality to make them more susceptible to all of the injustices. There's a person who's a scholar, probably Amanda Seals, who could say that sentence a lot better than I, but there's this idea that the religion and the forgiveness, I think she actually mentioned this in this video, so check the full video out. I think she actually communicates this in this particular video, but this idea that we forgive, I guess, all the injustices at such a high rate instead of being angry and as mad as we should, could be challenged. And when I see stories like this in the Bible, it also does put me in a space where I say, can I see the world like that, where a person I think should not be the apple of your eye, I can see them that way? Yeah, that's just stuff to talk about. So before I let you go, let's look at these scriptures. I'm going to put them on the board. The first set of scriptures are the ones supporting prophets. This one comes from Deuteronomy 18 through 19. It says, I will raise him a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in thy name, I will require of them. And then we have another one coming from Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 49. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Then said I, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. But the Lord said unto me, say not, I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee thou shalt speak. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Lord. Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. And then we have Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. There are probably a lot more scriptures than what's pulled here, but all of these scriptures are given some type of indication or says prophet in them. But we're understanding that there is a relationship between being able to see into things that other people can't see. So now we're going to navigate to those scriptures that are against the practices. So we're looking at first Leviticus 19:31. What does that say? Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Now we're going to Deuteronomy 18:10-12. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God doeth drive them out from before thee. All right, so this next one is coming from 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he have also rejected thee from being king. I want to sit with this one because it was quite interesting to see rebellion being the witchcraft versus this spookiness. It's actually an action or behavior. And from my opinion and my point of view, there are those who who claim to be of a faith like Christianity or claim to be a follower of Jesus who may act in a rebellious spirit, which here is saying is witchcraft, but don't see the witchcraft in their own world because they're thinking of witchcraft only in one way. They might see a woman walk down the street and have a crystal and they say witchcraft, not even realizing that she might just like crystals. And I'm not saying that's the case, but could there be room for things like that? It's just once you see things or the appearance of evil, you are going to jump and say that it's evil because it appears evil. But is there a conversation to be had? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but hopefully it did. Now, this last one before we close out comes from Isaiah chapter 8, verses 19 through 20. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead, to the law and to the testimony? If they speak not according to the word, it is because of, how did I add because of today? It is because there is no light in them. So I like how we end here because that's my theory. And honestly, again, there are people who have studied the Bible, who are in and out, who know all the answers to how to survive Earth and are doing well in this life that probably can speak to this a lot better. As I look at it, it's easy to see if there's good fruit or bad fruit from inside religion and outside of religion. And in order for me to navigate this journey of understanding the Bible and understanding the behavior of Christ, I see Christ the same way as I see those who are awkward, who are doing something against the common belief system, who are advocating for justice, who are advocating for what seems to be good. And with that advocacy, you might find resistance. You might find people who don't like you. You might find people who don't get you. I think it's fair because if we live in this earth and everyone isn't designed to be an awkward person or to stand out of the crowd or to be a dismantler, then there won't be a story. There won't be a show. There won't be a performance. There won't be this journey towards peace. And although I hate saying it because I don't, honestly, to be transparent, I don't want to have all this nonsense going on. I want us to get to peace as soon as possible. But I think the beauty in the journey is that once we start to adopt that peace in our own world, in our own mindset, we bring heaven on earth a lot quicker because now it's based off of the choices that we make. You know, whether I speak life or death, whether I decide to engage in this content and make me angry or be inspired, those are all choices that lead us closer to the peace that we might want. And ultimately, it has to be a decision to actually want it. But that's all I wanted to say. I'm so tired right now, so I feel like the end of this video is probably dragging, but I hope that there was something that inspired you. Even if you don't agree or you have a different take, I hope that this content inspires you to create something that's solid, to create something different if you're a creator, to write and to express or to learn and take that inventory of yourself on why you respond. Why were you even interested in looking at this content or further content about Amanda Seales? Why were you interested in clicking this video? What gravitated you to engage yourself in the conversation? What did you like about the Shannon Sharp's video? Those are a lot of questions. So the questions that I actually wanted us to start to dig into was the questions for our core beliefs. Let's look at this really quickly. If you don't get anything from this video, these are the 5 questions that you can use as inspiration from the Amanda Seales stories or just look within your own. So what are the core beliefs that you own? That's the first question. The core beliefs that you own as it relates to anything that was brought up in today's video. So that could be about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It could be about spirituality with psychics versus prophets, or it could be something that you find in your own life that you just want to challenge and work through. So once you define those core beliefs of your own, or just choose one, how does that core belief serve you? Now, once you answer that question, next is, how do they serve others? Let's say my core beliefs is that the Bible says to stay away from people who are into witchcraft. Now, I want to say, how does that serve you? Me staying away from people with witchcraft serves me in this way. Now, the next question, how does that serve others? If I stay away from witchcraft or I share people why they should stay away from witchcraft, this serves others in this way, okay? Now, this is going to be paired with this question, but you're going to get a little bit more in depth. How does your core belief impact humanity? Is it in a positive way? Is it in a negative way? Is it in a challenging way? How does it actually impact humanity? And then this last one is, how do you know? How do you know that it's impacting humanity in this way or the other? This is the final question is really the fruit. If we we decide that we create these commentary pieces, and let's go back to Amanda Seales about who she is, or Candace Owens, or Issa Rae, or Shannon Sharp. If we create all of these think pieces about who they are, go through these questions and let us know, now that you said that, how do you know that the strong opinion that you have about these people brings forth good fruit? Like, it actually helps. I think that's something that we can use as a practice, because I'm free flowing and I'm free talking. I'm just going about my life. But through this practice, I'm examining different routes I can take to emphasize an important point to me is it's okay to be a person who wants to choose positivity. I had to teach myself that, because I was living in a world where if you say something like, think on the good, people are like, but this man is the devil. You seen what he did, you know? And I'm just like, okay. Can the two exist? Can this man be the devil and I can still think on the good? And that was one of those questions where I really had to challenge myself, because that was part of my core belief. That's just something that I thought was what made me, is that I wanted to think positively, and I wanted to stay in the bubble where all things were working out. And through challenges that I experienced in the last few years, I've learned that the experience of darkness exists, and it might not exist as strongly for me as other people, but when you experience the darkness, in my opinion and in my experience, there is a way out, and the choice to take that way out is dependent on you. So this was a little bit more serious. I appreciate all of you who stayed this long to talk with me, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Did you understand anything that I'm saying? Because again, my role here is to practice not only this positive thinking or mindful thinking or engaging in diversity of thoughts, but to also practice my communication skills. I want to be able to communicate more effectively. And this is one of the reasons why I adore the deliveries of a Issa Rae or a Candace Owens or an Amanda Seales. There's something about the delivery and the fact that they're well researched, and that they cute, okay? That they just, they're amazing. To me, with just that I'm inspired by. I'm inspired by the fact, again, that that Issa Rae and Candace Owens, for instance, have such awkward perspectives and very strong perspectives. It might not be invited to all the parties, but they still hold it down for their core beliefs. And that also inspires others, in my opinion, to be well researched about why you believe the things that you do. I believe that they both have something to contribute to the topic about the Black community, and it might be very different, or it might be very strong, or it might be abrasive or awkward. But if we really just take this time to practice listening, we might hear that we are saying similar things, but our passion is dominating the conversation. I'm finally done. Thank you all for being here. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.